All right, well, welcome to Barre workout this morning. My name is Jena with the St. Paul JCC. All you need today is something to hang on to for balance, preferably a chair. We might put our hands down on the lower end or our feet up on there. And then a mat and a little space. You don't really need any weights or anything today. All right. Yay! Air hug. All right, we are going to start with those legs nice and wide, knees and toes slightly turned out. Open and close those arms. Inhaling on the way up, exhaling down. Whenever our feet are really wide like this, instead of having your toes forward, because it's hard, you might want to play around with just opening them up a little bit. Let's start to bring those arms a little bit higher, and we're going to change it with a pull down. Reach, pull. Really contract those back muscles as you drive those elbows to the floor. Exhaling up. Start to really engage and contract those thigh muscles and those glutes. Pay attention to those toes. We're avoiding gripping the mat with our toes, but rather spreading them wide. Let's go ahead and keep it up. Reaching up and over just to one side for now. Reach. Take that bottom arm and bring that across. Good. Again, exhale. Exhale. The harder you reach, the more mobility you're going to start to gain. Reach. Now let's go ahead and switch it to that other side, just starting with one arm, keeping that body upright. Avoiding any rounding forward. And now add that bottom arm again. Reach under, yep. So exhaling as you reach over, pressing firmly through those legs, planting them into the ground. Three more. Last one, good. Start to draw some giant circles with that pelvis. We're going to start to narrow our stance and our toes will come forward a little bit. Good. Big circles. And now go the other direction. Really lengthening through the front of those hips. Trying to drive the hips forward as the shoulders go back. And one more, good. So keeping this somewhat narrow stance, if I was standing sideways on my mat, I would be about the width of my mat here. We're gonna reach it forward as we sit those hips back. Arms come out and back, extension and back as you stand up. Every time you stand up, I want you to tuck the pelvis and lock it in, and then sit it back. Start to bring those arms up a little bit higher if you're able to without rounding the back over. Just keep that core as stable as possible. Right now we're thinking about pushing down and out into our mat for 3 more. 2 and 1. Good. Just bring this next one down and hold it. Reaching the arms, alternating. Driving those hips back, pressing down and out through those legs. Super long reach with those arms. 3, 2, and 1. We're rounding and then arching the back. Rounding, arching the back. I'm always changing positions so everyone can see different angles. We don't have a mirror here in studio and at home. Might not know what I'm trying to do with the pelvis. 2 more. Let that body hang a little. And wiggling out those knees, bending and extending. And roll it up. So right away, we're going to come to our chair. Placing our hands on our chair, couch. We're going to have a slight bend in the hips. So we're not quite at a plank like you would be on the floor. You're going to walk your feet a little bit further forward here, but we're not quite to where our ankles are right underneath our knees. So somewhere in between, if you will. And let's just go ahead and point the right toe, keeping the left foot flat on the ground, and start to lift that up. And as you lift, I want you to lift by thinking about pulling the heel from the floor, pulling it up towards the ceiling, and really, again, contracting or engaging those right glute muscles. Check that your left toes are forward. You've got slight weight on those arms. Nice and solid through the entire pelvis, which means we're trying not to let the back arch like this every time we lift the leg. We're kind of solidifying it by pulling it in like someone's tickling you in the waistline. And now let's hold this next one up and bend and extend right away. Get a nice stretch through the front of that right thigh, contracting those right hamstrings as much as you possibly can to pull in. Think about keeping a straight line. Oftentimes the knee wants to turn out and the heel wants to come out to the other side of our body. Keep the bottom of the foot in line with the wall behind you and the ceiling. Now hold this next one up, bend the knee, lift a little bit more again now with the bent knee. Slight flexion, extension, flex, extend in that right hip. Again, try not to let the foot go side to side for that lower leg. Everything's going straight up towards the ceiling for 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going to go ahead and walk it in. Just bring your forearms to your chair and start to pedal out those legs by bending one knee, straightening the other. Now our ankles are right underneath our hips here. Feel that stretch out to the outside of the hip, into the back. Walk those ankles right underneath the hips now. All right, placing those hands back on your chair, walking the feet back slightly again. So again, not quite into your full plank and not right here, right in between. Slight bend in the knees. So now we're going to stabilize with that right leg, point the left toes, and pull from that floor. Just put some attention to your pelvis and your rib cage area. The more motion we have right now, we want to settle that down and just keep it solid by contracting muscles. We always want to, especially in bar class or Pilates, we want to avoid just going through the motions. You want to contract as hard as you can. Learn how to recruit those muscles and create your own natural resistance and strength. Check that right foot, assure that it's straight forward, the toes are not turning out to the side of the wall. And let's hold this next one up, and we're gonna pull in through our hamstring, stretching that left quad. Keep that knee lifted high. Try to avoid letting it drop down. You wanna keep it lifted. Trying to keep it level with the hips if you can. Again, that lower leg, it might want to rotate across the body, out to the side. We're just keeping that foot. It's like you're scraping the ceiling and the wall behind you, not the left or the right side. Good. Now on this next one, pull in and hold the knee bent, slight flexion in the hip, and then lift, lift. Keep that knee bent. Keep pulling that heel in towards your seat. Got to contract those hamstrings. 6 more. 5, push it to the end. 4, 3, contract hard. 2, 1, let's wiggle it out again. Walk those feet so they drop right underneath the hips. Forearms to your chair. Wiggle those guys out again. Bring your feet in a little closer if you need to get a little extra stretch on the outside of those hips. 1 knee bends, 1 knee straightens. Now you can choose to come to the floor for this next one if you don't feel comfortable on your chair, but it will be easier on the chair, but just want to make sure you don't push your chair away from you. You want to get those wrists directly underneath your shoulders, whether you're on the floor or not. Floor will be a lot more harder on your core. Chair will be a little easier. So we're all in plank. So again, starting with those wrists right underneath the shoulders. I do not come back here. My face stays right in line with those hands. I walk my feet back to plank. Okay, and we are going to drive those heels down and then lift up. They may not touch the floor. So push the heels down, get up onto the balls of the feet, flexing at the top, should say bottom of the toe joint, first toe joints. And as you're doing this, you're thinking about pulling the arms like this. You're pulling down, using those back muscles. No one should be shrugging right now. You should feel a lot of work through your chest and your back. Now raise up on both balls of the feet and go ahead and point the right foot and pull that leg straight up. Straight up. Give me 5. 4, keep that left heel lifted. 3, 2, 1, right away, switch. Point the left toes, stay on the balls of the right foot. For 9, 8, right heel lifted high. 6, 5, 4, pulling with your arms. 2, and 1. Start to walk it in, bring it all the way up. Let's take a big inhale up, bending the knees and the hips, scraping the floor with your fingers. Come up again. Come down, reach it up. On this next one, go into an extension as you reach up. Reach up and back, drive the hips, rib cage forward. 3 more like this. 2, and 1. Bring the next one down, hold it. Open up those shoulders by pinning the shoulder blades back. Palms are gonna face the floor. Thumbs are to the side of the room. Take a peek. Your knees, they can be past your toes, okay, but they're not really far in front of your toes. You're driving those hips down and back. And now let's pulse those arms. Press, press, press. Shoulder blades together. Every time you press, think about bringing the pinkies back and in. Slight little motion going inward towards the center of your body. For 5. Can you sit lower? 3, 2, 1. Woo. Good work. Wiggle them out. So you're going to want to turn your chair, using it for some stability here. We are going to start, or it doesn't matter, one side. We'll go to the other side. So chair for balance, leg that's closest. We start with our feet together. Leg that is closest is our supporting, stabilizing leg. for those of you that haven't had me before, oftentimes I'm cueing not sinking in your hip. And what I mean by that is not letting the active hip drop and then just get lazy out here. You want to keep contracting your inner thigh and your glutes to keep that pelvis stable. You're going to point the other toe and start to pull it from the ground. So we just kind of started our engine back here with the pulling behind our body against gravity. Now we're pulling up. Really working the core, hip flexors, quads. If you want a little balance challenge, get that outside arm out there. Think about sticking a pole in the ground and you're pushing down. We're not just hanging our arm out there ever, it's active. Other arm as well if you want to add some more stability challenge there. But that is why your bar/chair is there. But solidifying those arms, zipping up through the core, keeping tall is really going to help. Check your toes on the ground. Are you gripping? Spread them out. Get the arches to do some work. Now let's go to a bent knee. Bent knee, and we're going to drop that thigh down right underneath our hip. So pull. Keeping bent knee, you can always hang on for stability. Like check that you're still locked and loaded on that stabilizing side. They want to get tired and then we want to sink. We want to lean. For 4, 3, 2, and hold that knee bent out and in. This time let's add some arms. So from the side, we are here. Just kind of open and close those arms, contracting the chest. As you come forward, contract those back muscles, sliding the shoulder blades towards your spine and forward, and pin them. 2 and 1. Good. The leg you were just standing on is going to come behind you, okay? And you're going to drive that hip now towards your chair to stretch it out. So just a little side hip. So let's go to that other side. So different stabilizing leg. Again, the one that's closest to the chair. We want to avoid sinking into it. We want to keep everything contracted, squeezing that glute and that quad at all times. Toes are forward for now, and we're going to lift, lift. Lock in that outside arm. You should feel like as you push down with your arm, your spine gets longer. Keep working on that breathing. That hip is already tired, hopefully, from stabilizing appropriately. But put the concentration into contracting that thigh still, pulling the toes from the floor. Looking good. You always have your chair, but more importantly, you have your muscles to help stabilize. The more you contract your muscles, the more stable you become. 4, 3, 2, let's bend that knee. So it's pull, pull, up, up, good, up. Try to drop that thigh underneath your hip if you can. All right, so hip flexors and core pulling me up, glutes, bringing that thigh underneath. So if it wants to stop here, contract your glutes a little bit more, and you'll probably get that thigh to come right underneath your pelvis. Now let's hold that knee bent, open and close. Still stabilizing. Try not to get lazy. You've got your chair when you need it, and we can do some arm motions. Contract the chest, contract the back as you open those arms. Zip up through the core. Contract nice and hard for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. So the leg that's closest to the chair or that you were standing on, you cross it behind and just kind of sink that side of that hip towards your chair, pressing through that front foot. Good work. All right. So let's make our way to the floor. And I'm just going to turn my chair, grab a sip of water on the way if you need it. Wonderful. So we're going to do this first little group of things. We're going to move away from our chair. Now I want you to keep your right foot flat on the ground. Arms are just going to be out to a big T from the body for now. Feel that upper back just melt into the floor, the back of the head. Start to draw some circles with your left thigh. The knee is bent right now. Big circles. And now start to slide that right leg straight. Keep making those circles with that left thigh. Knee is bent. For 3 more in this direction. 2 and 1. You're going to circle the other direction. You're trying to keep your pelvis like it's hammered into the ground from your hip bones. You do not want the pelvis rocking left to right, and it definitely should not be going upwards towards the ceiling and then back down to the ground. It should be nice and solid. Now extend that left leg towards the ceiling and turn the knee and toes slightly out to the side of the room. Start to draw a circle in one direction. Make your circle as big as you feel comfortable. Contract those muscles nice and strong so that you don't have any tendon rollover, popping, snapping, clicking, catching. You want to always think about getting those legs longer. Press that right heel into the ground hard because you're helping stabilize your pelvis with that right leg. It's not relaxed, it's active. Switch directions with this single leg circle. This is a big core stabilizer because you should feel your abdominals contracting hard as well to keep your rib cage from flailing all over the place. Upper neck and back are relaxed, but glued to the floor. 2 and 1. Bend your right knee, place your foot on the ground, bring your left leg up off the ground, knee is bent. Start doing thigh circles again, but we're doing it on the right side now. So this should feel a lot easier than when our leg is straight. Start to straighten out that left leg, opening up that left front of that left hip, pressing that left heel into the ground. Switch directions with your right thigh. The knee is bent, and you're taking advantage of being able to do a nice big circle, just taking the hamstrings out of the picture here. Now let's straighten out that right leg. Contract the thigh and just think about turning the knee or just rotating that thigh in the hip socket so the knee is angled outward, ankles angled outward, and start to draw circles in one direction. You get to decide how big your circle is. If your hip keeps popping, well then you're probably either A, not contracting those muscles hard enough, or your angle is too big. So you might have to make your circle a little smaller for a while. And then play around with that knee, turning it out usually helps. Contract hard. What about that left leg? It should still be working hard. Now switch directions with that right circle. Keep breathing. Hold those abdominals strong. Someone is standing on your belly. Brace. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice work. Hug them in. We're going to move a little closer to our chair, just using it as a little guide here. So finding a position where you can get your heels to just rest on the chair and tap every time. So slide those fingertips along the floor and curl the head and the neck and the shoulders off the floor. So you're looking in between your thighs. You are not looking at the ceiling right now. The crown of your head or top of your head is trying to press upwards towards the ceiling. Contract your thighs, your legs, and just hover the chair with your heels. Keep reaching those hands towards your chair, okay? From here, we're gonna pull thighs in, tap the heels to the chair. Pull. When you pull, you're exhaling. You're getting your thighs to touch your rib cage. That's your goal. Point those toes. If they start to cramp in the arches, you can always flex the other way with the ankles, turning the toes up towards the shin. But everything is contracted here. We're not relaxed. Just keep pulling in. Anyone feeling it? A little bit? Shh. Give me 4 more. Curl up a little higher. 3, 2, and 1. Relax down. Just take those arms overhead. Lengthen through the rib cage. Big inhale. And exhale. So this is going to be our starting position now. Arms are extended overhead. There's no rule that says you have to have your arms super close together by your ears. In fact, some of you don't have that range of motion. So open them up as wide as you need them to be so that you can keep the back of your shoulders more in contact with the floor and your hands closer to the floor. So wherever that needs to be for you. But as we come up and curl, we're reaching our fingertips to the ceiling, and then we're going to reach towards the ankles. And then as we come down, our legs are now going to go straight, and you're going to touch the back of your lower legs to your chair seat. Yep. So curl up and open up. Curl. Open up. Exhale. Inhale. Really think about kissing those thighs to your rib cage. And as your legs go out, contract those quads, those thigh muscles. Pushing the lower legs right into the back or the top of the chair seat. Your knees should be straight when your arms are overhead. Back should be glued. That's the hard part. Now everyone hold the extension. Head is down. Arms are hovering the ground. Core is glued to the floor. And my lower legs are just barely resting on the chair. This should be really tough. For 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo! Let it go. Big inhale and exhale. All right, bringing yourself up to a semi-seated position, like a V-sit. Starting with our forearms on the ground. We're really not putting any weight onto them. We're not sinking into the shoulders. Okay? Your heels are going to be touching your chair. Knees bent. You're going to come to the floor with your heels, to the chair, and to the floor. To the chair, and to the floor. Keep your chest broad, lifted nice and tall. Side, center, side, center. Yep, knees are close together. Keeping as close as those inner thighs will let you. Tap the heel to the chair, heel to the floor. All right, so we're all going to sit up into our V-sit. Okay, so your heels can be resting on your chair. Curl your body up and make a little C, okay? And then open from there, okay? So now we're gonna open our heels away from each other. to the floor and then to the chair. You can add your arms if you want. Make sure you're not sitting straight up. You're sitting in that strength, stabilizing hold. Contract those thighs. If you want it harder, try to do straight legs. If you need a little help, place those hands down. Okay, let's go for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Woo! Who feels that? Oh yeah. All right. So if you don't feel comfortable with this next one, again, you can place your feet on the floor. But this will actually be easier than the feet on the floor one. Play around with your fingertips. So whichever way you want them. Some it might feel better have their fingertips back. I always think having my fingertips towards my seat feels much better. So we are going to work on, you can open up your legs to wherever feels comfortable, and you're going to work on lifting your hips and lowering, okay? Lift those hips and then tap the buns down. You're pressing through the palms. Otherwise, you're here on the ground, same thing. Lift, lower, lift, lower. So play with that. So my hands are slightly behind my body. My fingertips are not right at my buns. They're behind me a little bit to go into shoulder extension. Remember, a lot of people don't have shoulder extension. You need to build it. You need to open up the front of those shoulders and the chest muscles. Now, if you're able to hold this next one up or keep going for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Squeeze harder. 3, 2, 1. Bring those puppies down. Whew. Let's slide our chair away, and we are going to make our way to our hands and our knees. How y'all doing? Okay, okay. All right, so knees are right underneath your hips. If you need to, it might feel comfortable to, a little bit more comfortable to maybe double up your mat. You need to, right? All right, so knees right underneath your hips, and wrists are going to be right underneath our shoulders. And I want you to slide your left foot along the floor. So when you slide your left foot along the floor, knees are apart. A lot of times you'll shift. If you're shifting, you're not using the right muscles to stabilize. You're getting lazy. So I want you to push that left foot into the floor, nice and hard. Press through the arms. The right shin, top of the foot, is also pressing in to the floor. Okay. Press down, everything is stable. So we're in that same position we were when we first started, but we're on our hands now. We're going to bring that left leg away from the floor. Nothing moved. Right arm extends out to the wall in front of you. You open your left leg and your right arm at the same time. You bring them together. Here, open and close. You're keeping the arm, the right arm and the left leg on the same plane. Hopefully it is parallel with the ceiling and the floor. No one's left toes are hanging down towards the ground here. Up, open, close. How about that right shin? Are you still pressing that shin into the ground to help stabilize? Now hold them out. So your right arm and your left leg should be making a diagonal, a half of an X. Bring both of the fingertips and the toes to the floor and then lift from there. Lift. It's an angle. Lift. You're not shifting into that right side at all. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sit back into those hips. Just give it a little piece of heaven. And we'll go on to that other side. Never, never underestimate the power of this area right here. So when everything wants to shift and move, the more you contract here and your pelvis area, you're going to stabilize better. So we're on hands and knees again. This time we're straightening out that right leg. And make sure that your left shin is pressing into the ground and your left arm is going to extend out. Don't shift anything and lift that right foot away from the floor. Everything is solid. You're going to start to slide the left arm and the right leg slightly away from the midline of the body. I should be able to place a bowl of water on your pelvis back there, and it doesn't move. You need to be pushing into the ground with your right arm and your left shin, top of your left foot. Racing as hard as you can through the core. Now hold this next one out at a diagonal, toes and fingertips to the ground, and then lift, lift. Don't lean. Keep fighting that. That's your abdominals, that's your left inner thigh. Press that left shin into the ground some more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Sit it back again. A little rest. All right. So we are all going to come to one side. Whatever side you want to lay on. It's kind of up to you. And you can extend your arm overhead. If that's too hard on your shoulder, you can bring the elbow in front and then rest the head that way. So whichever one feels best for you. Preferred would be overhead if you have that shoulder mobility. Okay? So you're going to keep those knees bent. So basically my hips are to the back side of my yoga mat and my knees are to the front side of my yoga mat. We're going to bring the ankles up towards the ceiling and the toes. We're going to keep them there, keep the insides of the feet together. You're actually pressing the inside of the heel and the insides of the big toes together, and you lift that top knee away. So lift, lower, lift, lower. Press them together slightly and really squeeze that right, whatever, the top glute. We're not all facing the same way. Good. Keep those toes turned up towards the ceiling. Try not to let them start dropping towards the floor again. 4 more. 3, 2, 1. You're going to keep your bottom foot where it's at. You're going to extend the top leg. So you're kind of inside of the bottom foot should touch the inside of the top knee. Kind of looking like a little bow and arrow here. And you're going to do little lifts. Lift. It's almost like you're pressing your top leg to the ceiling with your bottom foot. Brace with that top arm for your core. Push that palm into the floor right in front of your chest or your belly. Lift. Lift. You should feel this right in the top, the outside of the obliques, core of the area. Hip. 3, 2, and 1. Good work. Whew. Stay on that side, but bend your knees a little bit more, bringing them into a right angle. And we're just going to open up to the back side of the room, pinning that back shoulder blade towards the floor. Breathe. Just keep that top thigh resting on top of the bottom thigh. Let's go over to our other side. Now again, even though you weren't technically working that side, you were stabilizing on the ground, pressing into it. For every action, there's a reaction. So it's going to be a little bit more fatigued on this side. Arm is straight or elbow in front of you, resting on your arm that way. That feels good. Hips are to the back side of your mat. Knees are to the front. You get those ankles, toes up towards the ceiling. Press the insides of the feet together. and lift. So if I place my hand on the top pelvis, top hip bone, it's not moving. So this motion is coming through that thigh. Your glute medius and minimus are doing that work for you. Don't forget to put a little bit of pressure through the inside of the feet, kind of pushing them together, get those inner thighs to engage. Are your toes starting to drop towards the ground? Keep them up. Keep squeezing that top glute. For 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. So you're going to extend the top leg. The inside of the bottom foot comes to the inside of the top knee. Brace through your top hand, pressing into the ground, and you're lifting, lifting, lifting. That bottom knee slightly comes off the ground. Brace through that top hand. Contract those leg muscles, especially with the top one, that those legs are extended there. Point the toes or pull the toe to the shin, but everything should be contracted from your waistline all the way down to your tippy toes. 7, 6, can you lift higher? 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring those shins towards the front of your yoga mat. Stack the shoulders and just let that top shoulder blade go towards the floor. Chest is facing the ceiling. Palms are up. Thighs are stacked. And start to bring everything up. So we're going to do a little extension here, and then some upper body, and we'll go back to legs and standing. So staying on our bellies for now, I want you to slide your hands back so they're even with the rib cage, okay, or the sides of the chest, and then pin those elbows towards each other and down. So you're lengthening from your ears to your shoulders. Long neck. Your head is hovering the ground. You're using your upper back to do that. We're not all shrugged under. So lifting and long. Get the tops of the feet away from the floor. Your heels may not touch, but that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to get those heels to touch, okay? From here, we're gonna hover the hands. The thumbs stay glued to the side of the chest, elbows down and back. Start to shrug. You're using those traps. Lengthen those traps. Use those lower traps, or lats, I should say. Heels are together. We're pulling in. We're still hovering the ground with the hands. Keep pressing the heels together. The knees should be slightly hovering the ground. You're really working all those back muscles. Remember, everyone's extensors are so weak. Spend too much time rounding over, so keep working on it. Time under tension. It's going to make you stronger. Now hold the knees or the heels in. Knees are slightly hovering. You're going to go ahead and reach the arms to the corners of the room. Grab something on the corner of the room and pull it down. You're doing a pull-up. Pull. Keep your chest slightly hovering the ground. You're not looking straight ahead and straining your neck. You're looking towards the seat or towards the floor. How are those legs doing? You still contracting those hamstrings, pulling those heels towards your buns. Arms are going to go out to a T. Hold it. We're skydiving. Come on. Hold. Now give me little pulses back there with your feet. You're pressing your toes towards the ceiling. Give me 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whew. Bring it up. Sit it back. Stretch them on out. When you're ready, you'll make your way to a standing position. Grab another little sip of water if you need it. So we're gonna work on those legs a little bit here. So you wanna stand behind your chair. I was gonna angle it, but I'll just stay here. So standing behind your chair, using it for stability, couch, whatever you have available. Right, and we're gonna work on sitting down into a little chair. So check the angles. The knees are gonna start going forward. As soon as they hover the toes, I want you to hammer your hips back at a diagonal and just hold yourself here. Right? We're going to lift through the heels and then tap them down. Lift, tap them down. Toes are forward. Check that you're not sinking your pelvis forward. You're actually pulling in, kind of tucking your tailbone under. This is called engaging your core. This is called impinging your hips. You want a little space between your hip bones and your thighs, and you're gonna really feel that work in your abdominals more. Heels up. Looks good. Go ahead and bring that chest up a little bit more. There you go. Now hold those heels up. From here, we're going to those thighs. Press, press, press. Remember, now we're not sinking down. Got some space between your hip bone and your thigh. Heels lifted, girls and boys. Up and down. Press, press. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shake them out a little. Whew. So we're going to go back to facing our chair. So we're opening up to the, we'll do a little squat first. And as you come up, you're going to open up to the side so you end up in this wide plie position. And you just go down into a plie. Press through that back leg. Go into a squat. Remember, in your squat, try not to sink here. Rib cage is forward. Tuck a little bit. You're kind of trying to keep a right angle. Okay, here we go. Squat, open. Plie. Squat. Plie. Good. Chair is there for stability. Chest lifted when you go into your plie. Looks good. You're standing nice and tall. This arm is still active. Think about pressing your stick into the ground. Don't just hold it out there. Woo! Feel the burn? 2 more. Last one. Whew. Shake it out. Now before we go to that other side, we're going to do standing little heel lift. So I want you to raise up on, actually we'll open up our toes to a little first stance. So start with your feet together, lift the balls of your feet up, and then just open those toes out, set them down. You're in your first stance, tucking the tailbone under, squeezing those buns, zipped up through the spine, lift, tap them down, lift. Every time you lift, think about contracting your quads and pulling your kneecaps up and tuck even a little bit harder every time. Add that balance factor in. If you would like, you can stick your poles in the ground here, any angle you want. We're trying to keep these guys engaged the whole time. The thighs engaged the whole time. Now bringing your hands back down to our chair, hold those heels up and start to open the knees out to the sides of your chair. Heels lifted the whole time. Good. Just checking from the side we're looking like this. Heels lifted. You want to think about inner thighs engaging as you come up. On this next one, you're going to hold it down. You're still tucked through your pelvis, and you're going to open and close your knees slightly. Tiny little pulses. Heels lifted. If it's too much on your knees, just drop your heels. If that's still too much, you just open your knees a little bit. For 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shake them out. So we're going back to our little squat. When you sit into your squat, try not to go here, but rather back. Squat, open to your plie, squat, open. Good work. Keep that body tall. We start to get tired, and it turns into this stuff, right? Come up tall, sit. Come up tall, sit. Up, sit. Up, sit. Pressing through that stationary leg. 5 more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Whew. Shake them on out. Hands onto your chair top. Walking back. Think about stretching your lats here. So you stretch them, but once you drive your hips back, you're pressing down, and your ears move away from your shoulders. So you'll basically be in this position. There is no shrugging. You're pulling down with those shoulders. Soft bend in the knees here, okay? Soft bend in the knees. Pull that right foot up from the ground, but don't shift to your left. Extend, pull it in, extend. Pull it in. Your left knee is bent. We're going for 5 and 4. 3, press into your chair. 2 and 1. From here, raise up on the ball of the left foot. Shift your hips toward your chair. Right knee comes in. Extend. You're on the ball of your left foot. Pull. Extend. For 5. Keep that left heel lifted. 3, 2, and 1. Sink it down. You're still pushing into your chair, pulling your ears away from your shoulders. Go ahead and pull that left foot away from the ground. No shifting into the right hip. Push it back. Pull it in. Push. Pull. Right knee. Right ankle are bent, solid. Pelvis doesn't move right now. Good exhale on the way in. Pull that thigh in towards your rib cage using those abdominal muscles. 2 and 1. You're going to raise up on the ball of your left foot. You're going to drive your hips forward, still pull into your chair. Left knee comes in, extend it back. Keep the right heel lifted as high as you can. Pressing down into that chair. 4, 3, 2, reach it back there. And 1. Shake them on out. Let's go ahead, make our way to the floor. All the way to the floor. So gluing those legs to the floor, your toes can be straight up, or you can point your toes, but keep the legs glued to the floor. Arms are gonna reach out in front of your shoulders. You're gonna reach to the wall in front of you. Let your eyes look at your knees, rounding your back over, reaching out as far as you can. And then stack one vertebra at a time to a straight up seated position. You may have to bend your knees slightly here, and then start to round that way. So now you're gonna lead with your lower back, going down, curling, curling. Keep the shoulders away from the ears. Try not to let them shrug. Go down, arms overhead. Arms move away from the floor. As soon as they go up towards the ceiling, that's when you start to peel up one vertebra at a time, rolling it up, reaching forward again. Treat this as a stretch. Reach out as far as you can, not down, but out. Stack it up, sit tall, shoulders away from the ears, roll it down, glue those legs, arms overhead. If you need to cheat, you grab one leg and let it help pull you up. Otherwise, once you see those arms and up towards the ceiling, you curl, you reach, no shrugging, no shrugging. Go all the way up one more time, reach it out. Roll up, stack one vertebra at a time. Shoulders away from your ears, roll it down. This time, just extend those arms over your head. Reach the legs away from the fingertips. Make your body as long as you can. On your next exhale, you're going to brace through your abdominals, and you're going to pull both arms, both legs up to a vertical. As you exhale, no arching the back. Good. Open them up. Inhale. Inhale all the way down. Exhale again, brace. Inhale down. Last one. Exhale. Inhale, open. And just bending those elbows to a right angle and just drop them to a goal post, palms up. Bring the bottoms of your feet together, knees out wide, and just let the knees open to the sides of the room and that pelvis area relax. Good. And just grab the backs of those thighs, legs apart a little bit, rock side to side just to give your back muscles a little massage. And go ahead and slowly sit yourself up. And I just want to thank everyone for coming. It's great to be back.